Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel, Immortal News. Today we invite you to join us for a gentle and heartfelt remembrance. We'll be honoring the American stars we've recently lost, as well as beloved figures from around the world whose lives touched us in ways we may not even realize until they're gone. These are the stories of people who made us smile, inspired us, and left behind memories that continue to echo in our hearts. Before we begin, if you could take a moment to give this video a like, it would truly mean a lot. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tributes and keeping their legacies alive. Thank you for being here with us. Now let's begin. Number 6. Those who shared a stage or a highway with Joe Ely often said it felt like traveling beside a born storyteller, one who could turn any dusty mile into a song. Joe Ely was born Earl Reuel Ely Jr. on February 9, 1947 in Amarillo, Texas, and grew up in Lubbock. As a boy, he saw Jerry Lee Lewis perform when he was 8, a spark that nudged him toward music. He first played violin in the school orchestra, then moved to a Stratocaster guitar, chasing the sounds that were shaping West Texas. In Lubbock, he met fellow songwriters Jimmy Dale Gilmore and Butch Hancock. Together they formed the Flatlanders in 1971. Their 1972 album, at first sold only as 8 tracks at truck stops, blended folk, rock and roll, blues, honky-tonk, and Tejano in a way that didn't sound like mainstream country. That early work later re-emerged under the fitting title, More a Legend Than a Band. Joe launched his solo career in 1977 with a self-titled debut, followed by Honky Tonk Masquerade in 1978. On stage and on record, he became known as the Lord of the Highway, singing about working people, travelers, and the wide American road. He collaborated with artists including The Clash, Bruce Springsteen, Uncle Tupelo, The Chieftains, Lyle Lovett, John Hyatt, and Joe Cocker, and even contributed Spanish backing vocals to The Clash's Should I Stay or Should I Go? He was a member of the Grammy-winning supergroup Los Super 7, earning the Grammy Award for Best Mexican-American Album in 1998. His hometown state embraced him as a progressive country pioneer, and he was honored in the Austin Music Awards Hall of Fame and the Austin City Limits Hall of Fame in 2022. The Flatlanders reunited in 2002 for the album Now Again and continued recording and touring, including the releases Love in the Midst of Mayhem in 2020 and Treasure of Love in 2021. Along the way, Joe built a home life as rich as his music. He was married to Sharon Ely, and they had a daughter, Maria Elena Ely, named after Maria Elena Hawley. Joe Ely died on December 15, 2025 at age 78 from complications of Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's and pneumonia at his home in Taos, New Mexico. He may never have chased mainstream fame, but he leaves behind songs, stories, and a legacy that shaped progressive country, Americana, and alternative country for generations to come. Tributes to Joe Ely. Number 5. You were my best friend and an even better big brother, is how one of his brothers described him, and it paints a tender picture of who Tucker Genal was at his core. Tucker Genal was a social media creator who found a special place in the hearts of millions. Alongside his brothers, Carson and Connor, he built a community online through entertaining challenge videos under the Hustle House banner. His creativity and energy drew in more than 2.5 million followers on TikTok and over 340,000 followers on Instagram, turning simple ideas into shared laughter around the world. Tucker's story was not just about fame. He graduated from Furman University in 2018 with a degree in business administration. He blended that education with his passion for digital media, working as a social media coordinator for sneaker artist Krakowska. It was another way he expressed his creativity and drive. Those who loved him remember him as kind, supportive, and inspiring. His brothers said they spent their lives looking up to him, calling him their hero, and the greatest brother anyone could ask for. To them, he wasn't just a creator. He was a guide, a best friend, and the person they tried to follow in life. Tucker Genal died on December 11, 2025, at the age of 31, in Los Angeles, California. Today, many will remember the views, the challenges, and the viral moments. But for his family, and for those who felt seen and entertained by his work, Tucker's legacy is also about kindness, brotherhood, and the joy he brought into ordinary days. We remember Tucker as a hero to his brothers, a creative force to his fans, and a young man whose impact reached far beyond the screen. Tributes to Tucker Genal. Number 4. Those who worked beside Martin Grelis often remembered how his presence could steady a room and lift its energy at the same time. Martin was an Australian performer whose career stretched over more than 25 years in the entertainment world. He was a professional actor, presenter, voiceover artist, MC, singer, and performance coach, moving with ease between film sets, television studios, theater stages, and live events. On screen, audiences came to know his work through memorable appearances in major productions. He played Kim in the groundbreaking film The Matrix and appeared as the second GWB officer in Iron Sky. He took on the role of a politician in the TV movie Mabo, an AFP detective in Chappelle, and David's chief of staff in the series Rake. Viewers of Australian television also saw him as Roger Holt in Water Rats. These roles reflected his range and his commitment to his craft. Beyond the screen, Martin built a rich life in performance. He took on Shakespearean lead roles on professional stages in Sydney, showing his classical training and love for theater. He brought that same passion to his work as a performance coach, helping others grow in confidence and presentation skills. Martin's voice and presence reached far beyond drama. He was a trusted MC for charity events, galas, corporate functions, weddings, and exhibitions. Whether entertaining a crowd or guiding a formal occasion, he knew how to connect with people and make them feel at ease. He also lent his talents to television advertising, including well-known campaigns such as Easy Off Bam. Standing 6 feet tall and based between the Gold Coast and Sydney, Martin lived a life shaped by creativity, hard work, and generosity toward fellow performers. He shared what he knew, lifted others up, and left behind a body of work that will continue to be discovered and enjoyed. In remembering Martin Grelis, we remember a dedicated artist, a confident and versatile performer, and a man who used his skills to bring stories to life and to help others find their own voice. Tributes to Martin Grelis. Number 3. Those who sat in his courtroom or shared a hallway chat with him often remembered a gentle wit paired with a deep sense of duty to the law. William Joseph Bauer was born in Chicago, Illinois on September 15, 1926. He served in the United States Army from 1945 to 1947, then returned home to build a life in the law. He earned his undergraduate degree from Elmhurst College in 1949 and his law degree from DePaul University College of Law in 1952. Not long after, he came back to Elmhurst College as an instructor, teaching there from 1952 to 1959 and helping shape young minds at the very start of his career. His path in public service moved quickly. In DuPage County, he first served as an assistant state's attorney, then as state's attorney from 1959 to 1964. From there, he stepped onto the bench as a judge of the Illinois Circuit Court for the 18th Judicial Circuit, serving from 1964 to 1970. Colleagues saw him as a steady hand, someone who respected both the law and the people it affected. In 1970, he became United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. The following year, President Richard Nixon nominated him to the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, where he was confirmed by the Senate and began his federal judicial service. In 1974, President Gerald Ford elevated him to the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. He would spend decades there, including service as chief judge from 1986 to 1993, later assuming senior status and continuing to serve until moving to inactive senior status in 2022. Over the years, William Bauer presided over major cases, including those involving the Amoco-Cadiz oil spill and a 2018 decision on Indiana's abortion law. In recognition of his lifelong contributions to government and law, Illinois honored him in 2010 with the Order of Lincoln, the state's highest award, and he was named a laureate of the Lincoln Academy of Illinois. In his personal life, he married appellate litigator Patricia Spratt in 2013, someone who had once clerked for him and later became a Cook County Circuit Court judge herself. William Joseph Bauer died on December 15, 2025, in North Riverside, Illinois, at the age of 99. Tributes to William J. Bauer. Number 2. Those who spent time with Aline Christina Dalmolin remember a woman whose work and words were built around lifting others up. Aline was a 41-year-old Brazilian business influencer and content creator, known for her warm presence as a life coach and for the motivation she offered to so many people online. She inspired thousands through her content, sharing guidance, encouragement, and a belief that growth was possible for everyone willing to try. Beyond her online voice, Aline was an entrepreneur. She founded and ran Cel de Sportes, a sports company that reflected her drive, discipline, and love of movement and achievement. Building that company showed her determination to turn ideas into reality, and it became one of the ways she touched people's lives in the real world, not just on a screen. In her work as a life coach, Aline connected deeply with her audience. She didn't just speak about success, she demonstrated it through the business she built and the community she nurtured. Many who followed her saw in her a model of courage, persistence, and heart. On December 15, 2025, Aline's life was tragically cut short. She died from injuries sustained in a high-speed car crash in Balneário Camboriú, Brazil, when the Porsche in which she was a passenger struck a utility pole. She suffered catastrophic injuries and experienced multiple cardiac arrests on the way to the hospital. She was pronounced dead before arrival. Though her passing was sudden and heartbreaking, the legacy Aline leaves behind lives in the people she motivated, the dreams she helped others pursue, and the lasting impact of her work as a life coach, influencer, and business owner. Through Cel de Sportes, her online presence, and her example of hard work and resilience, Aline Christina Dalmolin's story continues in the lives she encouraged to be stronger, braver, and more hopeful. Tributes to Aline. Christina Dalmolin. What's trending on the internet? News 1. Let's take a moment together to talk about a family road trip that has touched hearts across the country and reminded many of us just how precious every day is. In Southern California, on a busy freeway in Los Angeles County, a tragic multi-car collision recently claimed the life of a 9-year-old girl, and left 3 of her family members in critical condition. They were driving along the 10 freeway near the East Los Angeles area, heading home from what was described as a cheerful holiday outing, when their plans were changed in an instant. Authorities say the crash involved several vehicles and happened late in the evening, when traffic can be unpredictable and visibility is more challenging. Investigators are still working to understand exactly what led up to the collision, but what we do know is that this family's story has deeply moved the surrounding community and many people online. The young girl who passed away has been remembered by relatives and friends as bright, kind, and full of laughter, the sort of child who could light up a room just by walking into it. Neighbors have described her as the kind of kid who always said please and thank you, who loved simple things like riding her bike, watching cartoons, and sitting at the table with her family for dinner. Her life, though far too short, was filled with love and joy. In the wake of the accident, people in the local community have come together in some truly touching ways. A small candlelight vigil was held near the family's neighborhood, where loved ones and even strangers gathered to pray, share memories, and offer support. Parents brought their own children to say a quiet prayer and to show their respect, reflecting on how important it is to cherish every moment together. Online, there has been an outpouring of compassion from across the country. Many have sent messages of comfort to the family, offering thoughts, prayers, and encouragement as the 3 surviving relatives remain in the hospital, fighting to recover from their injuries. Others have shared their own stories of close calls on the road, promising to be more patient, more careful, and more present when they drive. Community leaders and safety advocates are also gently using this moment to remind everyone about the importance of safe driving, especially at night and during busy travel times. They are encouraging slower speeds, extra attention to changing traffic, and avoiding any distractions behind the wheel. While no reminder can undo what has happened, the hope is that this loss can inspire renewed care and caution, potentially protecting other families on the road. For older adults watching this, many of you know how quickly life can change, and how meaningful it is to tell the people you love how much they matter. Stories like this one often stir memories of raising children and grandchildren, of family vacations and holiday drives, and of the deep desire to keep everyone safe and close. As this family focuses on healing, both physically and emotionally, they are not alone. They are surrounded by neighbors offering meals, rides, and quiet company, and by countless people online who have taken a moment out of their day to send a kind word. In a time of sadness, that kind of kindness truly matters. This young girl will be remembered not for the way her life ended, but for the happiness she brought to those around her. Her smile, her giggles, and the love she shared with her family will remain in their hearts forever. And for all of us, her story can serve as a gentle reminder to drive with care, hold our loved ones a little closer, and find gratitude in the ordinary moments of each day. In the end, the most powerful tribute we can offer is to honor her short but meaningful life by looking out for one another, being patient on the road, and continuing to spread the kindness and warmth she showed in her 9 beautiful years. News 2. If you've been online today, you may have seen some very sad headlines coming out of northern Mexico, where a private jet carrying 10 people has gone down. Authorities say the small aircraft, a twin-engine jet, crashed in a mountainous area of Coahuila, Mexico, after taking off from the United States and heading toward Monterrey. On board were 10 adults, including the pilots, all of whom lost their lives in the crash. Officials in Mexico have shared that the plane disappeared from radar before wreckage was later found in a rugged, hard-to-reach region. Local teams, including rescue workers and investigators, traveled to the site to carefully and respectfully recover the victims and begin piecing together what happened. As of now, investigators are still working to understand the cause, looking at weather conditions, the flight path, and the condition of the aircraft. While we do not yet have all the personal details about those on board, we know that every one of them was someone's loved one, a family member, a friend, a co-worker, a neighbor. Many were reportedly traveling for what should have been a routine trip, something countless people do every day without a second thought. Moments like this remind us just how quickly life can change and how important it is to cherish the time we have with the people we love. For older viewers especially, who have seen many chapters of life and history, This kind of news may stir memories of other tragedies and the way communities came together afterward. In Mexico and beyond, thoughts and prayers are being shared for the families and friends who are now facing an incredibly difficult time. Even from far away, we can offer a quiet moment of compassion, sending strength to those who are grieving and to the first responders and investigators working so carefully at the crash site. As more information emerges in the days ahead, what will matter most is not the technical details of the flight, but the lives that were lived, the laughter, the hard work, the dreams, and the relationships that made each person unique. This story will be remembered not just as a headline about an accident, but as a moment when people pause to reflect on the value of every day, to hold their families a little closer, and to honor the 10 lives lost by carrying forward a bit more kindness, patience, and love in their memory. News 3. Imagine turning one of the hardest moments of your life into a message of strength and hope for millions of people. That's exactly what Angelina Jolie is doing right now. At 49 years old, the actress, director, and humanitarian is opening up in a deeply personal way, revealing her mastectomy scars publicly for the very first time. These are the scars from the preventive double mastectomy she chose back in 2013, after learning she carried a genetic risk that made breast cancer far more likely. Many of you may remember that moment. It started a worldwide conversation about women's health and early detection. Now, more than a decade later, Angelina is sharing those scars in a powerful new photo and interview, not for shock, but for comfort. She says she wants other women who bear similar marks to know that they are not alone, that their bodies are still beautiful, and that scars can be symbols of survival rather than something to hide. Angelina explains that she reached a place in her life where she no longer wanted to feel pressured to appear flawless. She talks about how many women feel they have to cover up after surgery, or feel less feminine or less worthy. By showing her own body as it truly is, she hopes to gently challenge that idea and offer reassurance, especially to women who are scared, healing, or still deciding what to do after a difficult diagnosis. What makes this moment especially meaningful is that Angelina is focusing on connection, not celebrity. She's a mother of 6, a longtime advocate for refugees and children, and now she's adding another layer to her advocacy by speaking directly to people who are going through medical challenges. She emphasizes that life after surgery can still be full, joyful, and meaningful, and that no one should feel ashamed for doing what they need to do to stay alive and be there for the people they love. For many older viewers who have walked through cancer personally or stood beside a loved one, this may resonate deeply. Angelina's message reminds us that strength doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like a scar, a tough decision, or a quiet moment of choosing to keep going. By sharing her journey so honestly, she's helping to reduce stigma and encourage more open conversations about health, choice, and self-acceptance. In the end, Angelina Jolie will be remembered for far more than her movie roles. Moments like this show her determination to use her voice and her image to support others. Her decision to reveal her mastectomy scars is a tribute to every person living with visible reminders of what they have survived, and a reminder that courage, compassion, and honesty can turn even our hardest experiences into a source of hope. News 4. You know, every so often a story comes along that reminds us just how precious family is, and how powerful a parent's love can be, even in the hardest moments. In this story we meet 40-year-old father of 2, Miles Beauchamp, from England. Miles went to the hospital feeling unwell and was later diagnosed with sepsis, a serious infection that needs quick treatment. His family says that, as his condition worsened, he waited more than a day for vital medication. Sadly, Miles passed away in the hospital, leaving behind his partner and their young children. His loved ones describe him as funny, gentle, and devoted to his kids. They say he was the kind of dad who would drop everything to play, to listen, and to make his children laugh. Photos and memories shared by his family show a man who found real joy in the little moments, reading bedtime stories, family walks, and silly jokes that only they understood. In the months since his passing, Miles's family has been speaking up, hoping his story will lead to better awareness of sepsis and faster care for other patients. They're determined that what happened to him will help protect other families. Hospital officials have acknowledged the case and say they are reviewing what went wrong, with the goal of improving how patients are monitored and treated. For Miles's children, the memories of their dad's warmth, laughter, and love will be the guiding light they carry into adulthood. And for many people who have heard his story, it's a reminder to take symptoms seriously, to ask questions, and to keep pushing for compassionate, timely care. In the end, Miles will be remembered not for the way he died, but for the way he lived. As a loving father, a devoted partner, and a kind soul whose story is now inspiring change and helping others hold their families just a little bit closer. News 5. You know, every now and then, a story comes along that reminds us just how powerful love, patience, and community can be, even after many years of waiting. Today we're talking about a woman named Jennifer Jenny Wyant, who disappeared 19 years ago after catching a bus to work in Lexington, Kentucky. Jenny was just 30 years old when she went missing back in 2005, leaving behind a family who loved her deeply and never stopped hoping for answers. Recently, human remains found earlier this year were identified as Jenny's, giving her family something they've been needing for almost 2 decades, the chance to finally know what happened, to lay her to rest, and to honor her memory properly. Authorities say there are no obvious signs of foul play, and while many questions may remain, this identification brings an important measure of peace. For nearly 20 years, Jenny's loved ones carried her in their hearts every single day. They shared photos, memories, and stories of her kindness and her smile. They pushed to keep her case from being forgotten. And now, even though this isn't the happy ending anyone hoped for back in 2005, they finally have the gift of certainty and a place to say goodbye. Stories like Jenny's remind us how strong families can be, how communities can rally to support them, and how important it is to treasure the people we love while we have them. Her life mattered, her story mattered, and the love for her never faded with time. As her family lays her to rest, Jenny Wyant will be remembered not by the mystery of her disappearance, but by the warmth she brought to those who knew her, and by the incredible perseverance of a family and community that refused to stop caring. Number 1. Those who watched her play remember a young woman whose determination and courage seemed much bigger than her years. Polina Krakowska was a Polish international rugby player who brought pride to her country every time she stepped onto the field. In a sport known for its toughness, she stood out not just for her strength, but for the heart she put into every match. At just 25 years old, Polina had already represented Poland on the international stage. Wearing her country's colors was more than a role for her. It was a responsibility she carried with focus and commitment. Teammates and supporters could see how much it meant to her to be there. She was also a former member of Black Roses Poznan, a club where her talent and work ethic helped shape her as both a player and a teammate. On those training grounds and in those games, bonds were formed, memories were made, and a chapter of her life was written in shared victories, hard lessons, and quiet moments of encouragement. Polina died in Poznan, Poland, leaving behind the promise of a career and life that were still unfolding. The facts of her journey that we do know tell us about a young athlete willing to push herself, to represent others, and to be part of something bigger than herself. Today, as we speak her name, we honor not only the rugby player, but the young woman whose passion carried her onto national and international fields. Her story, though brief, touched the world of Polish rugby and the people who followed her path. May her dedication be remembered by every young player who dreams of wearing their nation's jersey, and may her memory live on in the teams and communities she helped shape. Tributes to Polina Krakowska. For more than 30 years, Tony has been my friend, my companion, my husband, said Claudio Gama, capturing in one simple line the love and loyalty